Happy New Year.
Yes, yeah, to you too.
Thank you.
Mm. So how have you been going? It's been a while. I saw you a little while ago, but I didn't hear you. How have you been?
Are you
Yes,
talking to me?
yes.
Well, mm, just exploring, not trying, being with what is, because that's an everyday exercise just to be with what is. So I think um, I'm good. I'm beginning to discover. Um, I have sort of a discomfort, an ongoing discomfort, which is, and I can just relate it to the second feather that I heard a video the other day, which is the doubt thing, which I have never understood, because I don't think of myself as doubting, because I related it to this feather work, and I'm not doubting that. But then it was as if I'd heard the video for the first time the other day, and I realized that the doubt thing was I'm doubting myself, which is she explained it. It's as if I've chosen to think that I'm wrong, so I'm going to put myself aside, and my brain is always looking for things to prove that I'm wrong, that wherever I go, everything turns out in the wrong way. And, and I think I'm entering mm, that part of me to see to be with that now, because it's such a deep level. It's such it's everywhere. It's just like a filter that I look through and live through. Um, but now that I've heard this, heard it for the first time, I've heard it 1,000 times that video, but it's the first time I heard that one that I'm how to be with that. So yeah, mm, it's nice to I don't like to be in the state where I don't understand where I am. But now that I've heard that bit, that doubting bit, then I can like live my daily life and just have like a purpose of being with these with this comfort of just fall into being to live with being wrong and see where that gets me.
So does it feel like you've discovered something about yourself, about the way things used to work?
I think that it's more like it's ever since I've started to being in this room, where the thing that keeps on turning back to me is it is what it is, what it is, what it is, and I really, really find peace in that one. And it's like some time has passed by living by that, mm, mm, not with that thing, but it's like these months that I've lived by it is what it is, what it is. Now there's room for living with this this thing that I decided to believe in, with this comfort of being wrong. So it's not like I didn't know it was there, but it's like there's room for making space for it now. Yeah, I think it's like that.
Mm. So do you find yourself having an opinion about what turns up?
No,
So when
no.
you say it is what it is, what it is, then there is
Mm,
just acceptance of whatever it is that turns up, eh?
yeah, because I've noticed with this having this new work, it gets very clear that I have this filter where my brain goes in and just wants to point out where I'm wrong.
Mm, mm.
It's and so it's like it's obvious that that's what's to be like giving space at the moment. And I sort of more have a sensation of stepping into something that's always been there, but haven't been given space. And it's uh, um, like I know that this is the thing to do at the moment because it's always there, but I don't like. I have a feeling of the space opening up.
So when you say that you hadn't been giving it space before,
Yeah,
is that another way of saying you've been avoiding it?
certainly. Um, yeah, I think so because I have the sensation that during the week when I go to work, I'm like keeping my breath, and then I'm waiting until Saturday and Sunday to just um giving space to myself or whatever.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yes, I would say that I'm trying to avoid it.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at clarifying some of the what you're telling us about, and when you say
Yeah.
you didn't have space for it, so when you say that now it appears like you're giving it more space, is that another way of
Mm.
saying that you're able to look at it without the avoidance by giving it space? So you're accepting it and looking at it
Mm.
and not judging it, not having an opinion about it, but just recognizing that that's what's happening. And that's what you mean by giving it more space, is it?
Yeah.
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 And are you recognizing, are you seeing that simply that alone is what allows it to change? That change is happening because of that attitude? Is that something you also recognize? Have you experienced that yet?
I've experienced it on other parts, and I think so. Maybe I would expect that to happen, but I don't know in what form and what way.
Yep, sure. Yep,
Um,
yep. Of course, we don't. Yeah. What I'm wanting to emphasize is that simply by giving it space, accepting it, seeing it in a descriptive way without any judgments about good or bad, should be here, shouldn't be here, any of that stuff, Without any of that, that alone is all that's required for it to change in an appropriate direction, in an adaptive direction. It will get better
Mm-mm.
because
I recognize that.
yes, yes, great, great, yeah,
And
that's a big
I
thing.
noticed something else because I've always wanted to like connect with other people and speak with other people and been seeking other people, but I don't. It's changing in a way like I don't really want to be with other people now.
Mm,
It's like I don't if I was to talk to other people in my physical world, because this is a virtual world and it's another kind of stuff, or uh, it's like that part would give me an empty feeling, whereas giving space and staying with what is what is filling me up now.
mm.
And
So,
that's
so
quite different.
how, how do you imagine this? So when you said about enjoying being alone, or they're my words, but what I got out of it, you were saying about the pleasantness of being alone. And Scott's down there nodding like crazy. Yeah, Scott goes, yeah, yeah, I know what she means. I like to be alone. And I think to myself, well, how, would you guys feel good talking to each other about being alone? That's this crazy mind going, yeah, yeah,
I don't, maybe it's because of the oppositeness of it, because I've always wanted to help other people and be there and speak, and I'm just like a bit revolved by by the by this, not in the way I used to do it, because it was me offering, and then now but at the same time I realized maybe not maybe that it was a craving for filling up the emptiness. So there's a shift there.
mm, excellent, excellent.
and and I also find it a bit oh shit, so what does it mean, this being just totally alone? Because I've always tried to avoid that, so now I'm into that part, and it feels quite frightening, because I'm living like I'm looking at my mom and she's alone, and uh I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to end up like my mom. But on the other hand,
Yeah,
eh,
yeah. Look, that's a really complex area, that one. And it seems quite logical that if you say only a person who is really happy to be alone with themselves, only those people can have a real connection with somebody else.
yeah,
Because those people who can't be like that always want something from the other person.
and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just the issue that I have with my mom, and I get really confused on how to be with people, because that's what I learned from home.
yep,
It
yep,
was the
yep,
manipulative way of always being with people because you wanted something in
yes,
return.
yep. And feeling alone doesn't mean feeling lonely. You can feel lonely in a crowd, not alone, but
Mm,
very lonely. That's some
mm.
people do. So, but having other people around has got nothing to do with that one. And look, you cannot imagine what's going on for your mother. In spite of what she says or what her body language tells you, you've got no idea what's actually going on for her. You can't have any idea. So, so just recognize that when you think, oh, she's not in a good place, I don't want to end up there. She's not, you don't know that she's not in a good place.
Mm, mm.
I mean, some people are in a good place when they're complaining about everything that's wrong.
Oh yeah. It's just she triggers me every time. So
So this
mm,
is the appropriate thing to do when she triggers you. Thank you, Mama. Thank you.
uh, I'm trying with my husband, but maybe my mother in the next lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, there's lots to discover for sure.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But it sounds to me like you're in a good place. Yeah, and you've got the tools to do it, and it's working well for you.
Yeah, a lot of discomfort, but it's a good place to be.
Yeah, good one. Mm. Hello, everybody else.
Hi, everybody. I want to say that I'm in a similar place with Gita. I am also more and more trying, not trying, I usually a very social guy. I have a very big company of good friends that we socialize a lot very often. And lately, more and more, I feel that I suppress myself to go there and I prefer to be alone. But lately, I just accept it and I just say no. So I just listen to what I really feel like and not the mental, okay, you have to see them because they invite you and I love them, but it's not a necessity anymore because I'm really bored of the small talk. That really bored of it. So when I'm in this situation, sometimes I really respond to this that, okay, this is stupid. I don't have to say anything about it.
Mm. Yeah. Does it seem obvious to you what what's behind the small talk? What's really going on when they're saying trivial back and forward rubbish
Between
stuff?
people,
Yeah. Well, with your friends in
you,
particular, that.
yeah,
Yeah.
what I get from this, it's we want to cover something that I really don't know every time what it is, but just to say something stupid to keep our mouths moving, to not be in the silence. I don't know how to
Yeah. It seems
express.
like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I
if we,
always find it's a brilliant experiment to just be quiet sometimes and let the silence happen and watch what people do. And the mind goes crazy. The mind gets so busy when there's silence that we just, no, we can't have silence. We've got to say something.
yeah, yeah. Most of the times I used to be the funny guy that says jokes and stuff like this. So sometimes I can really be in silence around them, but they think that something is wrong with me.
Mm,
Because I have used to this pattern.
yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it? And so it brings up again something of worth repeating, and that is that as you change, you will find that your friends and family, the people that are close to you, will actually unwittingly, unconsciously apply pressure to get you to be the same that you always were. They don't want
Yeah,
you to change. They want the Stelios that they've always known. And if all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're with a stranger who looks like somebody they used to know, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Because there is something strange about the guy that we used to know.
Yeah. Look, I just tell all my friends I'm weird, and I make no apology for that. You've got to put up with whatever comes out of my mouth or whatever
Yeah.
doesn't. It's like it's a get out of jail free card. I can do anything then because they just go, oh, he's weird. No worries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God most of my friends know that I'm weird many, many years now. They love me for this because I'm a little bit unexpected
Yes.
anytime.
Yeah.
I could be totally different. So they love this about me. But the biggest silence that I feel I really need it, sometimes to just relax and share what it is,
Yes.
but not saying bullshit. This
Mm.
they find it strange.
Yeah.
So maybe some of
Something,
them, sorry?
sorry, Stelios. No, I was going
Yeah.
to say, I just wanted to share something that comes up here when I'm listening to you is that something I noticed in my own process where I found myself pulling away from people because they expected, it's kind of what Vince was talking about, they kind of expected me to be someone that I'm no longer am. But I kind of also felt internally that when I was spending time with them, it it was like automatic habitually slipping back into that character that they know me as. And that was very
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And it
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
inauthentic. And it was like more and more and more until I just couldn't deal with that uncomfortableness anymore. And
100% Marius. Yeah.
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 And so that's why I sometimes mention in this meeting that sooner or later we kind of have to sever our attachments, meaning like we don't necessarily need to like cut those people out, but we need to be okay if they disappear from our lives.
Yes.
So we just need to be ourselves. And if you need to be in silence with your friends, and if they don't accept that, then you know, it is what it is.
Totally. Yeah.
See, as a weird guy, you can say to them, look, you guys keep talking. I'm just going to meditate. And you can just sit up and shut your eyes and not be involved or just listen to what's going on or whatever. And you have that space in the middle of it all. You
Yep.
don't have to do
You
it
know,
twice and they'll go, oh, he does that. Every time you do it, they'll look at each other and nod and that'll be it. Yeah, he's doing it again.
no, sometimes I don't have to say anything. I don't have to say I have to meditate. Uh, I just sit on my silence, and if they say something, I will just give them a glimpse and don't speak, and maybe they laugh and they will pass it. So they are very accepting guys. I don't think we'll have a problem with this. And we are also not very attached that we have to do the same thing at the same time. Because, we have gone for many trips together, camping and stuff like this. And we are people that if Vince wants to go to eat and have his time, he will have. So I don't think that this will be a problem. They just have to get used to it, that I'm
Mm,
not this monkey that used to say jokes and make everybody entertained.
mm, mm. Yeah,
And I noticed that, let's say that we're a company of 10 people. Lately, more and more, I have more company with one or two of them
yeah,
that we can not totally, but make more
yeah, yeah, yeah.
time
Conversations
in
are different.
silence. And,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
I also had a period of being allergic to stories. So when people were engaging in stories, I I had an aversion against that. I just like I almost became frustrated. Sometimes I did.
Marius,
Um,
you were right, because most of the times these stories, you have heard them over and over again. I totally get you in this, yes.
it's just recently that I'm starting to get over that one actually. While I'm on the topic, I recently had a shift in perspective that kind of changed what we're talking about also, or what I last mentioned there is that I'm kind of losing the felt sense of other out there. So it's like before, if I were to relate to somebody, even after kind of seeing through self, I I had I had a felt sense that I was relating to somebody, and there was a slight contraction in that. It was kind of like I was cautious in a way. But now it feels more like everything in my experience. It's not like I'm inside here and my experience is outside there. It's more like I am the experience. And so I'm responding to experience rather than relating to somebody, if that makes sense. And so that means that, like, for example, listening to stories, which I had an aversion to, the stories that I'm listening to is is experience. It's not like I'm listening to somebody. It's a part of I, I say me, but I don't. It's not a me, but it's experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Is that,
feels like it's yeah. What do you want to say?
For me, what I discovered recently, a couple of days ago, that it became more clear, it is that all that it is, it's what is known. Does that make sense? That
yeah, well,
if now,
that's what I was going to get off on, and I kind of lost it. I got lost in my head there. But yes, it took me back to my early days of guiding, and I had forgotten that I used to put a lot more emphasis on that the all there is, this, if you like, is it is unknown. But what is known is the impact of this on me. Excuse me for that word, but you know what I mean. So another way to say it is the only thing that is actual is your current experiencing, right? And so another way to say that is the only thing that is actual is your current experiencing. That's what you are, your current
Yep.
experiencing. And it's a verb. It's not a thing. It's
Yeah.
a movement. It's energy. It's something. I don't know how to put it. You know, it's something. But that's all there is. So the every time we have to split something off and put it into a conceptual universe, in order to talk about it like it was something else. So that felt sense is the key one for you, Marius. That's just brilliant. That felt sense says the illusion is losing its power.
Mm.
You're seeing through the veil.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I mean, again, you run out of words with this stuff, you know. It's not like now that you no longer have the experience of a connection between you and something outside of you. That's not like that doesn't mean that other person is inside of you.
Mm.
It much more means that there is no boundary there. There is no end to you or beginning to them, or end to them and beginning to you. There's a merging. There's a recognition of the oneness of it. That sounds so cliche, doesn't it? But it's like, yeah, that's a good way to put it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of it can go in and out, especially if it's like a situation where, let's say, there's a conflict, for example. I can get sucked into the subjective, fixated view again, but only in those situations, as it is now, at least. And but I've noticed that what that is just a thought overlay. It's just like a thought reaction of the situation. It's like well, it's a thought overlay and a bodily reaction of sensations, I would say, that contracts. So I'm kind of seeing what's happening in that moment, but it still manages to kind of contract me into a
Right.
subjective objective.
Okay. So seeing it under
Yeah.
those circumstances isn't enough to end it, but
Not yet, but
simply change
yeah,
it. It would simply be different though because it's seen.
yeah,
It's not being experienced from the inside.
yes, correct.
Totally. It's like you're split in
Yeah,
two. There's part of you inside and there's part of you outside watching
correct.
what's
Yeah,
going on, but unable to
yeah,
do anything because the inside one's still pretty active.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, exactly.
It will loosen up for sure. It will. Yeah. Just
Uh,
yeah.
Can I just add something?
Of course. Yes.
Because I don't like adding anything, but I had this experience this week because I have this husband, which I always think of someone who's complaining a lot, and I got really curious, or I realized that this week was just me who projected my insight in the form of my husband. Because the thing that I realized that it was that what I have inside was manifested in him speaking it that way. So I don't know if it's the same thing that was my inside world that manifested in him talking like that.
Yes. Who knows? Who knows? Call it
So
synchronicity.
I think to me it's like the same thing that Marius is saying, that I realize that around me the people or what I experience is the inside of me. So you put some words to the thing that happened to me this week in another way. So it's going to be a fun week to enter now.
yeah, play with that perspective if you can.
Yeah, sure.
That whole description just completely just hit me like deep. I don't even have anything to say about it, but all I know is it struck something. Thank you.
Cool.
How about you, Maya? You're starting to have ideas of escaping back to work?
Going to work is not escaping. Escaping from work is escape. Well, about what Marius said now and Scott's last 2 weeks. You know the meme where there's one guy going along the street and holding his girlfriend's hand, and there's another girl walking past them, and he's turning to look at the other girl. There's a version of it like this is my awakening, and the girl he's looking at is other people's awakening. This is how I feel now. I'm the others now. So just watching you all, but okay, there's hope. How I feel, I'm. I was somehow disappointed with myself because when I started, I was really running towards it in the beginning, and then I'm like stalled now. Everything is much quieter, and there was a bit of disappointment. Everything I do, everything that happens around me, I'm able to look at it now from the perspective, okay, this is it now. How do I feel? What's the sensation and what are the thoughts? So I do have the tools, I use them, and it's okay. And now I have to look at this disappointment, which doesn't have a much of a sensation. They're mostly thoughts. And today I took some random video from YouTube to listen to in the morning. And there was one woman talking to a guy who met Byron Katie and went to live with her on a whim. It was late 80s or 90s when she was fresh still. And somehow she said about herself, she wasn't the one living with Byron Katie, but nevertheless, she said, and then the things just started falling off, and I didn't do anything. Like when I was seeing thoughts, when I was analyzing thoughts and sensations, it just occurred. I didn't intend to do it. It was done by itself. And at that moment, I thought, well, there's really nothing I can do. I can only come to these sessions to meet lovely people and feeling this feeling of when I open the Zoom here, this is this warm feeling. This is home, being with you all. Okay, this is also a sensation. I'm observing that. I can just come to the meetings and wait. There's nothing I can do. Am I right?
One thing that comes up now and when I've listened to you before is that a question actually. Has the mind kind of overtaken the process of analyzing what's happening inside?
It can always happen with me. It always happens with me. Yes.
Because it's just like you pointed out, right? It's a different feel to it if you're kind of doing, looking, rather than it's spontaneously happening. Because it's just like you were talking about just then with Byron Katie is just that just happens because you have become aware of things happening inside you. Your awareness has broadened, right? But if your mind is kind of doing, if it has that doing energy over it, I fear that you might it might overtake the process, like um you staying in the mind
It
while
can be.
So
And of
so kind
course,
of
yeah.
yeah.
So,
I just
so I
wanted
just,
to direct back to direct experience. That is where you want to be in your senses.
My senses.
Give your mind a break.
Yeah, I have. And now I have the feeling that I let go a little bit. I let go everything now. I found after this after this crazy time of really being into awakening all the time, I found now, okay, I have to do a little exercise. It feels good, and I don't know, a little bit Mandarin listening. Okay, so I let go a bit, and it's not a decision now. It's like it is for me. It is a decision that has made itself. It's like letting go and waiting for the drive to awakening to come back again, but it has to come by itself, right?
I love it. I really love what I'm hearing you say. It's really good stuff. Exactly that. Yes. So the old idea of doing, of course, rests on delusions of having control, being able to do, et cetera, et cetera, and there's no end to that, where that one goes. So waiting now, but here's the thing. You talk like things were going great and now you've stalled. I think they were the words you used. Now I've stalled, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
the implication in that, the moral implication of that is, it's wrong. This shouldn't have happened. We should be still going, whatever. You see. Now, what makes you think that this place that you find yourself in of stalled isn't part of the path, isn't part of the trajectory, isn't part of the learning process? Isn't it reasonable to expect that you're going to get offered everything that can be thrown at you? Everything, absolutely everything is going to come at you at some point. Nothing is left out. And being disappointed, feeling stalled is just another version of going great.
you see, I needed to come here to have someone to tell me that, because otherwise I would be inclined to push now if I
Yes.
was alone, because I wouldn't know what to do, and that's why I'm here. I suspect that somehow it's okay. It's okay to have a break now, because I just feel that I need a break
Yes, and in
a
that
bit.
break, integration happens. Right? So it's like when you go to sleep. Right? This is not a wasted time. Lots of really good things happen in your sleep to your body and to your mind. Things get filed from short-term memory into long-term memory. The brain gets cleaned of toxins. All sorts of really good things happen when you're asleep. Well, this is kind of like a version of sleep. Right?
Mm.
It's a time of integration. It's a time of other things, whatever it is. If it's just what's happening, it's just what is, then we can presume it's the right thing, even though we also go, yeah, that's a judgment, but
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Yeah.
I need
And it's
someone to tell me
learning
this.
too. Your nature, my story of your nature is that you're very organized and structured and so on. Um, and so of course that leads to doing. It's a bit hard, so that's also a habitual thing in your life to to do things. You're not a follower, you're a leader, and you do things. So now this not doing is a bit unusual, a bit strange. It's a new thing to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that came to me as you were talking was those tools that you've got. It's getting time where you no longer need them. You need different tools, new tools. The old tools were great in the beginning, but then they become a little bit, we need something a bit more refined and a bit more sophisticated. as we go along. So a lot of those early tools, like going straight to the sensation, looking what's going on in actual, that's not irrelevant by any means, but it just becomes just part of the job now. So the whole thing gets much more sophisticated. And it's like we don't just notice what's going on, we notice what's triggered it to happen. We notice things that we're not sure of. Well, intuition starts to play a much bigger role, where we start to listen to what intuition says. It'll use the medium of thought to present something, but you'll recognize that it comes from the intuition, not some second-hand knowledge from somewhere. It's a description of first-hand experience at an intuitive level. Yeah. Yeah. So you're still going faster than you think you're going. It just seems like, yeah.
Very comforting. Yeah. At this moment when I thought, okay, things have to happen by themselves. Okay. And there was another thought, and I always thought I'm in control. I could control everything, even my cancer journey. After cancer, what I did, everything to be healthy again. There was a moment I thought, no, I don't control anything. But it wasn't like the train hit me with this thought. It wasn't very strong. It was just a hint of it coming to me, because I didn't have this hint before. Not even that.
Yeah, it's not like we're changing from control to not having control. We never ever had control. It's just we're realizing what was always the case. So it's a different thing, you know. So people that have still relying on control get freaked out at the idea of not being in control, but that's because they think that they're going to go from having control to not having control. They don't recognize that it's just realizing that they never ever had control. That was always a comforting illusion. Oh,
No.
I shouldn't. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you this one. This is human nature, so it's, you know, there's no judgment here, but I am smiling because it's rather amusing. So when we're driving along in this car and my wife's in the passenger seat, I say to her, do something you know, find some music to listen to or something like that. And she said, oh no, I can't. I've got to watch the road. And she's sitting in the passenger seat, and I've got to watch the road. I can't take my eyes off the road. And I'm saying, you do realise, of course, that you're in the passenger seat and you don't actually have any control, eh? And she says, shut up. And then at another time recently, I think it was yesterday, I said to her, what about when you're sitting in the back seat? Do you still feel like you still have the same control over it? Now she recognises that she's got no control, but that feeling is so strong. Oh, that's incredibly strong. That's amazing. And this is everybody. This is the way we're conditioned. We're conditioned to think that under whatever, if I watch the road, then I've got control. It's crazy.
Maya, something that came up to me when Vince said the tools that maybe no longer, need those tools, is something that I have experienced some days ago and make things a little bit more clear, that the moment everything is just things appearing, right? The moment you are saying, I have to look or say with the body, that I used to do a lot, is just a thought appearing, saying this. Why do you take this thought more seriously than all the other thoughts? So this is a new tool. Everything that appears is just another appearance. That's it.
You're right. You're right. Yes.
It used to confuse me a lot to see even this thought.
Yeah, but can you see how you're seeing things at a more complex level now. Yeah, there's a difference. You've dropped down to another level, and you're seeing
Yeah,
what's behind those things more so. Yeah.
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 The moment a thought appears, that was it. It's over. It's over. I don't know how to.
Something to play with. Yes, yes, yes. Something to
Yeah.
play with for me.
When
Yeah. Every
some
thought is just a
maybe,
thought.
let's say your attention grabs onto hearing, sound, then a thought saying, I have to save the body. That was it. It's just another appearance.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, after sometimes the process that at first it's very exciting to look, to stay with the body, it offers a new experience. But after a while, it's another pattern.
Yeah.
That's
So,
But what I need to do when you say the perception grabs something and it's just appearing, and then I see myself, the thoughts are coming, and then I latch onto the thoughts.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is being in the mind, as Marius says. I see it now, but I have to unlearn it somehow.
No,
Maybe
you
it
don't
helps
have to do
just.
anything. If you have to, it's another, just try to observe why some thoughts attach you and some others not.
Okay.
Because maybe now in your head it's words like a cup, an image of an elephant, anything, but you just let them passing by, right? But there are
Yeah.
some thoughts that makes you in control, that there is attachment. So
Yeah.
lately you get used to it, the thing, to be in control while looking or observing. But this is another thought. If Vince or anybody else have you installed the program to look, you didn't have this way of thinking. Do you understand?
Yes, I think I do. But what came into my mind now, I feel like someone who is not able to stand on their 2 feet, and you all are holding me under my armpits, and I try to make steps. So somehow I have the feeling I'll forget everything you said now. But then
Yeah,
again,
me
someone
too.
will say, yeah,
I'm always
yeah,
like this. And maybe now I'm saying this to you, and tomorrow I will be lost again.
yeah,
But the next thing for me, it was this,
yeah,
to just observe even the thought saying I have to look or to do something.
yeah, yeah,
That was it.
yeah, yeah. Okay. When I have to, when I have a plan, when I have a plan, when I have to do something, when I intend to do something, observe the thoughts as see it as a thought.
See that,
I,
yeah, just see it.
I also
Okay.
want to just point out a sneakier thought or a sneakier level of thought that you might not be aware of, or you might be. But um, when you said you were watching your thoughts, or there was thoughts, and then there was like, okay, I need to watch these thoughts. That is also a thought. Like you, in the moment where you're watching the thought, there is a thought about watching the thoughts,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. Thought about
But
watching the thought. This is what I have now.
And
But I have to
there's yeah, go.
see that this thought has come by itself, like any other thought.
Yes, all do.
Yeah.
The thought that I have to watch the thoughts.
because as soon as you kind of any seeing, any kind of understanding of what's happening inside you is a thought. How could you
Yeah.
not understand it? How could it like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm doing this without it being a thought?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So this is what comes to mind for me is this image, if you like, of so wherever you find your body, wherever you find yourself, wherever that body is at any time, whether you're inside or outside, whether you're in your car, whether you're walking, whether you're sitting, whether you're in bed, no matter where, at any time, your body will automatically recognize the the conditions that are around it. You know, like I'm experiencing air from the fan on my body, on different parts of my body, and it has a temperature, and I experience that, and so on. I experience how much light there is with my seeing, and so on. So there's this constant, probably outside of our awareness most of the time, a constant readjustment of things to our body. I mean, for example, I have my arms folded at the moment, and it's probably because I'm keeping part of my body warm because the air is just a little bit too cold that's coming out of the air conditioner. So there's this constant adjustment. Now, so what we've got is we've got stuff coming in through all of our different senses that shape our body to adjust to the circumstances, the conditions that it's in. And guess what? Our thoughts are just some of those conditions that are there. It's like the light or the air, like the breeze, and we have no more control over that than we do over, if we go outside and there's a slight breeze coming from that direction, that it hits us. We might be aware of it, we might not be, depending on if it's enough to change our comfort level. For example, if it's too cold or too hot or it's too strong, we'll notice it. But if it's just very gentle, we might not notice it. We might not notice it if we're busy talking with somebody or if we're doing something. But we do notice it, and we do adjust to it. We might, if it's too cold, we'll go back inside and get a coat if we're going to stay outside. We do all these things all the time. And just like the breeze, our thoughts are there, and we're adjusting to them as well all the time. Right? Now, if the I can hardly think of a situation, but for example, if you had to walk somewhere to the shops, for example, and the breeze was a howling wind and it was really cold, you'd have to put a lot of attention on it. But if it's a really gentle thing and you don't even really pay much attention to it, there's no focus on it. Right? So your thoughts can be like that. They can be like the gale, the tornado, or they can be like the gentle breeze. It's just, yeah.
I think I just got one thing. I see the thoughts in two different modalities. Like there is one thought, some thought, and then there's another thought. Oh, I should observe this thought. I don't believe the first one, but I do believe the
Yeah.
second one. I believe that I have the control.
And it's a great exercise to play with, to look at, to take one thought and look at all the other thoughts that might be attached to it. All of the implied other things that are attached to it. Right? So it's like the one that you do respond to, you do believe, also has another thought there that says, this is right, this is true, this is the one to look at. Right? And the other one
Sorry, I have
says,
to.
yeah,
I'm so silly.
good. No, you enjoy that. I'm enjoying you. Yes.
But that is a great and profound recognition, Maya, that you see this now, because it's like it's another level of awareness of thoughts.
I just hope it sticks. And I see this, I just hope it sticks like another thought.
That was just another
Actually,
thought, wasn't it?
sorry, Vince, I interrupted you, but it was so
No, no,
funny.
no, that's fine. No, he didn't. I forgot what I was saying anyway. It was all rubbish. Yeah.
But
No, that
Maya,
was, that's
yeah,
good.
that was it. That you could notice the first thought, and the second thought, believe it is you. Now that you have seen this more and more, you will ignore even the second thought and the third thought, and just thought appearing. And as been said, some things it will grab your awareness or noticing or anything. Some others not. This moment, this body experience many, many things. Only what is known comes your attention. I don't know, Vince, if I'm saying right, that from all the things that is going on, the things that is known to you, it's what is happening right now, what just happened. If it's a thought, I have to pay attention. That just happened. Just a thought appearing, I have to pay attention. Gone. Now sensation on my back of my head. Oh, what is this? Another thought. That just happened. But ignoring the second and the third thought is
I was just able to ignore another thought. And another thought was, but you don't know me. I'm able to add a third and a fourth and a fifth and
all of
believe
us.
them. Just planes landing on Heathrow, no end to the queue. But no,
And
I recognize
maybe
thought.
maybe after 2 minutes, you realize that another thought coming up that says, oh, those 2 minutes I was lost in thought. But that came up. In that moment, you just realize, okay, for 5 minutes I was lost in thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't try to ignore them. Just as much as you can, don't take them seriously. Because if you try to ignore them, it's just I have to look like this.
You see, I know that every thought is not to be believed. I know that. But then I behave like there are some I do and there are some I don't.
Yeah.
But okay, I hope I cleaned a bit of it now.
Yeah. But now you have seen the second thought. More and more you will see there's just two thoughts fighting. What is going on right now? Oh, two thoughts fighting. That's it.
Yeah.
Those
That would be
ones that
another
you,
thought.
sorry, Marius.
No, I was just pointing out, and that would be another thought.
Yes.
I also just wanted to say, like, this is a perfect example of where I see many people kind of get stuck, where I also was stuck in myself, is that we hear in the spiritual community, at least from various teachers, that you need to be aware of being aware. But that basically is a thought about being aware. You're aware, and then there's a thought about being aware.
I've got a
You can't.
great koan I'd like to offer you that I've never found an answer for myself. When you are aware, is it necessary that there is a thought about that? Can you be aware without a thought?
I still don't know. You might, but it also can be my thought about what you might know. So
I guess it depends on what we understand as awareness or being aware. I think knowing that we are aware needs a thought. But being aware, does that mean being conscious? Or does it mean knowing of being conscious?
Mm.
It's a good question.
So trying to keep it at an experiential level here. Watching that we don't get off into philosophy or theory about things. So in experience, when an experience occurs, well, it gets really tricky. So let's imagine a hypothetical experience that I experience a sensation on the back of my neck. Right? So it's not like we're not like talking about the experience of my seat my bum on the seat, because that's an ongoing one. So what we've got was a theoretical one where I get touched on the back of my neck. Or no, I experience a sensation that I describe as touch on the back of my neck. My first awareness of that will likely be the simultaneous arising of a sensation along with what appears to be at exactly the same time a thought that says a mosquito has landed on my neck, because that's the flavour of the sensation that I experience. So that's the thought, and I have experienced where that thought will turn up, but I won't be how to put it. I will remember that thought turned up afterwards. So although the thought occurred, and it seemed to occur at the same time as the touch, but obviously logically it didn't. The touch happened first and then the thought turned up. That's logic that says that. But the difference in actual time is so small that it probably can't be measured. It's really quick for thought to turn up. But there is that sensation. But why did I think it was a mosquito and not anything else? Well, that was because my brain consulted history. And I know that's what a mosquito feels like. So not only did the thought that a mosquito's landed on my neck come afterwards, but there was a whole process that happened at a very fast rate where my brain went through 77 years of history and said, that one fits with a mosquito landing on your neck. And then the thought, a mosquito just landed on my neck. You see, there's a sequence of events. And then I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to tap it or scratch it or rub it or do something. I don't want that mosquito there. I don't want it to bite me. Maybe it wasn't the bite that I felt. It was just the landing on my neck. But you get the complexity of the whole thing that goes on.
Wait, wait. Now, you have a sensation on the back of your neck, and then you have a thought. It's a mosquito. If you were somewhere else, if you were in Canada and you have a sensation on the back of your neck, you would have a different thought, right? I don't know, a grizzly bear gently touching you on your neck.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
But never mind. You would have a different thought. Is this? I might be wrong. It's a question now. Is this thing that sensations and thoughts are not causally related because you never have exactly one thought related to one sensation? Is this it? When you say that they are not,
Yes,
or
no,
am I
yes and
wrong?
no, yes and no, both answers. But no, that's when I was talking before about that. No, I was saying that a feeling is a sensation with thoughts that give the feeling meaning, right? So they're much more intertwined. The
There's no
sensation and the thoughts are woven together in a feeling, in an emotion.
no
Whereas
meaning
what,
in the
yeah.
no intrinsic meaning in the sensation.
That's right. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay, okay.
It's the stories, the thoughts that are attached to it. And those stories. Now, so we're back with this thing about awareness again. We're here that we have that thing about history. I mean, I don't actually remember the last time that there was a mosquito on my neck. Yet somewhere in my memory banks or somewhere in the brain or somehow or other, it came to that conclusion because of also, like as you say, because of conditions, right? If I was in a place where there are no mosquitoes, I wouldn't think of a mosquito. I might think of a fly or something else that's more common to those circumstances. But regardless, I was just talking about how actually a sequence of events that occur, and thoughts always follow in that way. They come afterwards. They're not simultaneous with the experience. So when I am aware of an experience of that touch on the back of the neck, the actual sensation component of it, I'm actually only aware of a memory of that.
I This might be going too deep, but I'll say it anyways. Isn't it, isn't sensations, or I would say sensations are also ultimately thoughts, because you can't know a sensation without the thought.
So that does that answer the question about thoughts are necessary for you to be aware of something?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
Because
I
you can't
thought
know.
also
Yeah.
about um, how you become aware uh, of a sound that is not there. A sound that stops. You know, like in horror stories, and uh, and then I realized that all the crickets were silent.
Absence of sound, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Which, interestingly,
That I was aware of the sound, but I didn't know it only when it stopped. It's really, I am aware of my reaction first, that my body reacts, that something is wrong.
Yeah. You can't know anything without thought. It doesn't register, I mean.
yes, yeah. So
The
we're at,
guy who was talking,
go on.
sorry, the guy who was talking about Baron Katie today, he told after her awakening, her daughter had to take her to the supermarket and tell her what things are, because she didn't have any thoughts anymore. So she did have direct experience, but she didn't have knowledge.
I I often find myself going in and out of that, like, and how I know that is a thought that registered that I have been thoughtless in a way. So this is my current understanding of non-dual experience, and it might be wrong, but is when I kind of am in that place, for lack of a better word explanation, where there are no thoughts. There is only being, but not registering that I'm being. Then there is only this. That is the purest this that I have experienced. Does that make sense?
Yes. And in that experience, no memory will get laid down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'd like to see some research on it, some neuro something or other research, but I suspect that no, as soon as I even think about it, it's wrong. I was going to say I suspect that memory does require a narrative. Without a narrative, there's no memory, but that's not true. As soon as I say that, I can, of course, there are memories that I can apply memory and narrative to, but that don't exist with a narrative.
Well, this is an interesting question that I've thought about quite a bit because of my decline in access to memory after awakening. Is that as after the shift happened, there's a natural, like gradual movement into more experience of pure being than it was before. And so my story about this is that it doesn't really register. So it doesn't really go in as memory. And
Yeah,
so this is why my memory is it feels like it's getting worse. It's not actually getting worse. It's actually I'm not recording as much as I used to.
exactly. Yeah. So a lot of what we see as a memory issue isn't not a memory issue. It's a storage issue. We didn't put anything in to get retrieved.
Yeah.
And I suspect, see, I have exactly the same thing. I am so heavily reliant on a calendar. And the thing is, I can look at my calendar now, and then 5 minutes later, my wife will ask me, "What are we doing tomorrow?" And I'll go, "Oh God, I've got to look at my calendar because I don't remember." And
Yeah.
it's what it seems to me to be is that I don't have to put the effort into remembering, which is a considerable amount of effort, it seems, uh, simply because I use the calendar. I just have to remember that I've got a calendar and I've got access to that. And then I can use it. So I don't need to. So it's like there is also a recognition of an incredible amount of energy being tied up in putting stuff in to remember. And for what purpose? God, some of the stuff that I get attracted to, I think, why do I want to know that? I really want to know the answer to that. But why do I want to know that? Absolutely, there's no reason whatsoever. I don't need to. It's not going to change my life one bit. As soon as I know it, I'll forget it because it's, but I still want to know it. There is that, there is a pull there to know all this useless stuff, and
But
remembering stuff is a bit like that.
this is also like it sounds from the perspective of the person, especially one that is attached to using the mind and like being intellectual. At least for me, it seemed like a loss, like something. It was scary. It seemed like a loss that I'm like losing a strength or something. But it's actually a gift because without that needing to remember or store, you're just so much more present. You're so much more here and get so much more out of every moment than if you're kind of analyzing or somehow subconsciously storing it. That's how it's experienced here, at least.
Yeah. You know, I think a gross explanation for a lot of that kind of thing is a lot of that stuff for a lot of people, and I'm generalizing wildly here, it is about reconfirming their idea of who they are. That's what it's all about. That's why we put so much energy into it.
Yes, that sounds really right.
And we've got each other to do that, and you can be whatever you like.
But this is also why a lot of people feel fear in this process, is fear
Yeah,
of letting
sure.
go
Yeah.
of that identity, of the image of themselves that they're carrying around.
Yeah. And again, it's got to do with the mistaken belief that what they think they are is actual. And so when they think about no self, they think they're going to lose something they've got, rather than the opposite, which actually happens, is that they discover something they never knew. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of maintaining the picture of you in front of other people, while other people think what they want of you anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
It's all just a theater for myself, actually.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah. That thing's been for you, Scott.
I'm in a good place. I just tell a couple quick stories. I won't take too much time, but this my dog. I rehomed my dog for my son, and I've had dogs before, but I've never really like bonded with them. It was years ago. I don't think I was capable of it, and I got this dog, and like within a month, I was so in love with this dog. It was like uncomfortable, and I found myself like looking over at him to make sure, like I wouldn't look away until I saw him take a breath, or I'd just be like looking, it kind of expecting one day I'll look over and see him, not moving or whatever. So I was aware that I was humanizing him, and I was aware this was like an unhealthy attachment, So, but it just, I kind of like didn't know what to do about it, and I just kind of left it. And then after this shift happened, I was like seeing things more clearly, and I was examining stuff with my dad, and I just had this feeling that there was some relationship between this attachment to this dog and my dad. just quick backstory. My dad died when I was like 15 or 16. Didn't have a chance to do the thing where you rebel against your father or whatever. Guys do it. And anyway, so I just asked myself, like, what is it about this that makes it seem like there's a relationship between this and my father? And it just hit me. As soon as I asked the question, it just popped into my head. I'm like, this is, I was wanting the, unconditional love from my father, wanting some kind of love or attention from my father my entire life until he died. Never got it, never got a chance to rebel against him. And I just took that focus and just placed it right on this dog. Like, I'm getting this love, all this love that it was totally, there's nothing attached to it, and I'm getting it from him, and I'm like just totally sucking it in, just like it was from my father. And it's funny because, like, there was a realization. It didn't seem like there was too much, but then I just noticing, like, I'm not staring over at him, waiting to see if he's breathing, and it just, like, I still love him. I still get all kinds of, like, wonderful feelings from him, but not from him, but they're generated. And and that's gone. That was pretty, I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it wasn't a huge deal, but it totally illuminates what this seeing will do for it,
Well, it is a huge deal. What do you say? It's not a huge deal for? It is a huge deal.
Well, I mean, it just seems like I always do that. Like the illusion of Scott, like, minimizes everything inside and maximizes everything outside.
Right.
As if there's inside and outside, but like.
Yeah.
But do you see that you actually gave yourself that love? That 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 love was produced in your experience. There's nobody who came in and gave you that love.
Right.
The love came from you, or the
Right.
love is you, in a way.
Right. It's an
It got triggered
uprising.
by looking at the dog, but the experience is yours.
Yeah. Thank you. That was.
Yeah. And the dog doesn't love you. He's just using you for food.
He just wants food, and I know that on the conscious level. I know that. It's funny.
I do know what you say, though. I've got that same thing with my dog. It just, yeah, they're great. Yeah.
I kind of just feel like that feels so good. I'm just gonna let it be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an old one that said if you lock your dog and your wife in the boot of the car, guess which one's pleased to see you when you open the boot?
I have a story about this because I experienced the same thing as you, Scott. And my story about this is that the dog is so the relationship is so pure. Like, there's no stories around, there's no protection around, like, between you and the dog. So you're kind of just experiencing yourself without any filters. And so you're kind of experiencing pure love, which is the essence of you. There's nothing between that is kind of blocking or contracting the recognition of yourself. That is my
So
story about it.
I love it. Love it. I've been aware that, like, the concept of the purity of it, like, hasn't escaped me, like, oh yeah, it's because we don't get to talk to each other and create the ego boundaries. But the idea of that it's really just auto-generated, just existence, just manifesting or whatever. I don't know if that's the right word, but, and that it's, I don't know, kind of losing it right now, but
Yeah, it's beautifully unconditional.
it's even more special, right? Because I would minimize it by saying, oh, it's just because we can't talk. Like, that's the minimized version.
Yeah, I think it's like if you look around at other objects, either they're living beings or whatever, there is stories attached to, well, when we are objectifying things, there are stories and labels attached to them. But there's something about, at least in my experience, there's something about a dog that is just so innocent that, yeah, it's just a, there's minimal amount of stories between me and the dog.
I feel like there's, I don't, this could be just a concept, but I think it might be a concept, but like there's a mammal like connection, like just the warmness of another body and the, like, I think these units are designed to take energy and bring it back and forth from other units, like, and I think mammals are like close enough to us, especially with a dog, like just the fact that their body temperature is several degrees warmer, when they come up against you and you feel them, they feel extra warm and cuddly and soft. And I read this book, one of the priests at the Buddhist temple like suggested, it was called, it was a book on emotion. I was trying to get some more clarity on emotion. It was a while back, and they were just talking about this, all the stuff that goes on inside our bodies, just the nervous system, just the science of the nervous system, and it was interesting how, like, mammals, just, we take energy from each other, we transfer it back and forth, like, you can feel it.
Mm.
I call it a body budget deposit. Actually, she called it a body budget deposit. I get it from my puppy all the time, and my girlfriend, and anybody else who feels like hugging me.
Yeah, touch is a big thing. And dogs like the touch.
And touch is pure. See, can be. Anyway. Slight change, but since I'm on the floor, so again, I was like, things were popping, like, everything kept popping, like, for the last week, like, especially after the last week's meeting, I couldn't hardly do anything. I kept stopping and just finding myself, oh my God, look at that, look at that, look at that. And I was having like thought storms. Like, you think your thoughts are supposed to slow down, but I was just seeing this and that. And anyway, during the same period of time when I was seeing that the dog was representing the, unconditional love that I didn't get from my father, it just like became even more clear how the breakdowns I had with the temple and LU were just me taking those organizations and placing them as the authority figure, which my father was, like the unquestionable, hard, feelingless authority figure. And I made it that into that. And I was trying to extract everything I needed, like I was trying to extract it from my father. And it's amazing how it's like almost identical. It's just like, okay, here we go. Everything I did when I was everything that I was conditioned into when I was a kid, I'm going to transfer it over to every condition that I can place it on in my adult life, like on the surface, the thinking part of it. And it seems like those are the tools to find your way down in there, you know, like it just, each time I get a new realization, it allows me to just see the next level down, you know.
Yeah, a lot of like dominoes, you know, they rest on something, and when that goes, the foundation for that one goes, a whole lot of other things have got nothing to stand on anymore, and they'll go too.
It's like I don't feel like I don't want it to go any faster than it is. Like, I mean, I know I don't really have any say, but like it used to be, oh, I want to get this or I want to get that, and I'll just like, this is enough. Like, this is fast enough. Like, it's coming, and it just happens, and it's just fast enough. Like, I'm not into accelerating it anymore, or worrying about if I'm thinking or anything like that.
But you're not a thrill seeker like Maya. She wants to go faster.
I know exactly how she feels. Well, no, I don't know how she feels, but I had a similar, you know, period for sure. And who knows? Could come back or not. I don't know.
Who knows?
Doesn't matter.
Marius, can I ask you something about the unregistered area you just said? Because, okay, if I get it right, in this area, the part of the character doesn't play a big role, so to be registered, right?
Yes.
But some pure moments in life that you felt that you were totally expanded and there was no thinking and it was just this, there is a big memory of it. Maybe it's a feeling, but it's not something that it's unregistered. It's something that was the truth, that felt very, very alive. So
Yeah. If I understand you correctly, the difference there is that your focus is still in thought. So you're knowing what's happening in your experience. It's registering. You're kind of, thoughts are still happening about what is happening. While what I'm talking about is thoughts are not happening. I'm not registering what is happening, though I'm still awake. I'm still here.
but do you have a memory of this?
Yes, there's a thought after that of what happened, so it has to be a memory of that. Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you say in the particular moment that is happening and it's unregistered,
Yeah.
then you don't register, you don't have a thought about it. But
Yes.
maybe if it was something intense, then you have a memory of it. But you know, maybe this memory is a mixture of feelings and sensation, and then you make an image of it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because it does. In order to have a thought about what just happened, it has to be saved at some level, but at the same time, not. That's interesting. I haven't thought about it like that. Because after being there, I can have a thought about what just happened. Yeah.
No, now I make a distinction that maybe it's right or not. That when I have a memory of something strong like this, that it was properly unregistered because it was anyway, maybe now that I am looking the memory of it, I have a memory of the experience and not the memory of me in the experience. Does this make sense?
Yes, that
I
makes
have the
perfect sense.
whole experience that I'm currently living. It's so intense, but this does include me.
Yes.
Yes.
So you could have a memory that something occurred, yet you can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Well, wow, here language kind of fails, I feel, to describe this accurately. But yeah, maybe that is as close as we can get with language.
I have like, I don't know if it's a question or an observation, but like, when we talk about thoughtless space, we say, okay, we're in thoughtless space, and there's an assumption that there are zero thoughts. But I have this impression that for the microseconds that I'm in space, thoughtless space, that there are other thoughts that are below the level of awareness. I feel like I have thoughts all the time that I'm not seeing. Like, and some of them, obviously they're there and you're just not paying attention to it. But it, and I guess I can be wrong. It just feels like there's a whole conglomeration of things that I could call thoughts that are below the level of awareness. And I don't, does that make sense? Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
maybe there are thoughts, but there's no attachment to this thought. Maybe that's a difference. Because also I can see many times that maybe I'm in this space and the thought arises, but if there is not attachment, doesn't disturb it. Just
No, yeah, that is different from what I'm trying to describe, at least, because in order to know something, like in order for something to be known or registered or kind of understood, it has to be a thought there. It's a thought that does that, right? So I can look out here in the room towards the door, and I can be in a space where I don't know the door. It's there, it's still a door, but there's no knowing of the door. There's no labeling, there's no registering, there's a door. It's just experience. Does that make sense?
yes.
So in that space, I guess there's the thought after of me having that experience, or yeah, there's memory of having experience, but there is no memory of knowing I don't know how to describe this actually.
So, I feel like there's another part of it. Like all information is not stored in language or things that can be like labeled as thought, right? Like, because we have a whole intuition, which I think is the right brain. Like the right brain has all kinds of, in fact, probably most of what these units do is all probably taken care of on the right side of the brain. Like we're not even in conscious memory, we don't even understand it at all. And every once in a while it pops over and then you get, oh my God. I think that's what a realization is, when this, whatever it is, kind of makes that transition over to where the left brain can look at it and go, oh my God, something just happened, I know I'm probably not making sense. I'm just talking out of
Yeah, it
my
makes
head,
sense. It makes sense. So, what's coming up here is, if we get down to like we're sinking down into what really is going on with thought, with experience, with memory, right? So you can actually say that a memory of something is virtually a reliving, right? And what we know from neuroscience is that the brain doesn't store anything as a unit, right? So if you're remembering opening that door yesterday, there's no door, there's no doorway, there's no door handle, there's no hand, there's no you. None of that is stored as a block of memory on the memory card that we call the brain, kind of thing. What happens when we remember something is that a creation happens, and that creation pulls things from all different areas of the brain. If there was sound involved, it's going to go to that part of the brain. If there was sight involved, it's going to go to that part of the brain. If there was whatever, it's going to be from all over the brain. We'll gather together all of these things and make a temporary unit that we call a memory, which is a reliving of something. And it's not the same thing, it's a new thing every time. But it is created like that.
So it's actually just a construct, what happens after.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like everything else, yeah.
Well, because our sensory equipment is trained by our well, conditioned by life, if you like, trained by our experience and everything. Everybody has got their own version of all of that equipment, and so it results in everybody having their own interpretation of whatever. Even if we're all looking at the same red dot, we're all going to have a different experience. Which really highlights the subjective nature of the apparently objective world.
It kind of, well, that's what you're saying basically, but I'm gonna say it in different ways. We don't really experience we don't experience now, we experience the construct because we can't really know now. We can't, like I was just talking about, if I'm in that it's the same thing. If I'm in that space without labels or conscious thoughts, I don't know it in a way. And it's the same thing with now. It's like everything is a construct.
And not just metaphorically. it actually is literally as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the takeaway from that, as I see it, a takeaway from that is humility. Right? There's nothing can be known. Everything is accepted as our version. So what the hell would we argue about? Anything? Nothing. Nothing could be argued about. We couldn't have an opinion if we recognize that.
Yeah, and one experience I had the other day, which was linked to the shift that I explained earlier, is that there is only one experience. Meaning, before I used to look at you guys, and I'd had kind of a subconscious or subtle assumption that you guys have an experience over there in my experience. But that's not true. There's only this experience. So your experience, I only, how do I put this into words? It's only your experience. This me talking to you on the screen. There's nobody here on this other side in your experience having an experience. That kind of shifted something in me.
And I want to loop that up and say there's nobody here either. So we go nobody to nobody to nobody to nobody.
If you can see what that was alluding to there, then the world, in my experience, became a lot less serious, a lot less scary or contracted, or I don't know the right word, but serious, I think it's the right word.
Maybe just a lot less. Yeah. Well, when you think about, I've mentioned this one on a few occasions. When the nature of humour, what we find funny as people, what we find funny is almost always a surprise. We get surprised. So whether it's a stand-up comedian or we're reading a joke or whatever, the joke you'll get invited to go down in a certain direction, and then when the punchline happens, it's always at 90 degrees. It's a sudden change of direction, and it's a surprise, and we get caught, and that's what creates us in us laughter. Why we find it funny. Well, life is actually like that all the time. There's nothing. There is just corners everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was about to say that, well, I also find it funny that when I recognize that you have a similar experience to mine, but that is actually what you're actually pointing to, because that is also a surprise. I'm surprised that you are having the
Yep.
same experience as me, and so it's funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you just see when people connect, all of a sudden, big grins, and yeah.
I have a question the last days about this. When something happens and it makes you laugh. And I'm not talking about a joke, but let's say you are noticing something in your experience, and it makes you laugh. And you see that there is no body, just laugh was happening. What laughs? This comes to my mind many times. What laughs? What?
Would you say the laughs? Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a multitude of directions we can look at this in. The body laughs, but why does the body laugh? Well, the mind. It's the mind that gets that's taken on that trip and suddenly. So, but there's also a discovery when we find it funny. It's because of it. That surprise is a discovery.
Probably,
That's
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Like the joke you didn't expect. It was something you didn't expect.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe. And the body is relaxed, so expresses it.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, a laugh fills the body with feel-good hormones, but the whole body's involved. Your belly moves, your
Yeah,
everything moves when you laugh. Yeah.
Is it a discovery or is it a recognition of something?
Well, wouldn't you say a recognition
Kind of.
is a discovery?
Oh yeah, but I think I labeled discovery as something new, while recognition I already knew.
But there are things,
But not really.
there are new
Yeah.
things, there are new
Yeah.
things that fit in, and there are those that don't fit in. Like when you do puzzles, when it fits in, then it's a discovery, right?
Yeah.
If you
Just
have
to
no
play,
expectations,
go on.
then everything is new, everything is discovery. No expectations, everything is a surprise.
And is it ironic, but is not everything always new? It just seems similar to what we already know, the past or previous or whatever. But it can't be that old thing. So everything is always new.
Yeah, I think where I was going with the recognition bit was I have there I can see there was a story there that whatever this is, the intelligence behind what this is, kind of, it's not new for it. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know. I don't want to get
That's
into
a
that one.
Yeah, I know. I see the story there. Yeah.
The intelligence that's behind it, that you freaked me out when you said that. I thought, oh no, no. Um,
But I don't want to say I can't really say anything about it, but there is
yeah.
something we can't know about this. I said
Well,
that is
yeah,
kind of
but I get that. Sure,
yeah.
I would say there's nothing that we can know.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So sure, there's a big mystery, and there may well be an intelligence behind operating and controlling and doing all those human things that we would if we were unawake, running the show. Um, but I
Even the
don't buy that
concept of
one. I don't buy that
intelligence.
one. Eh?
Yeah, I was going to say even the concept of intelligent or intelligence as we understand it is just a concept.
Yep.
So yeah, I re I take it back.
Yeah, it's that oneness thing, and because it's so hard to, I mean, it's impossible to actually successfully deploy words to do justice to it. We have all these really clumsy attempts like that to do that.
Before I forget, just playing off what I just said earlier about there's not somebody here having and somebody over there having an experience, right? There's only you having this experience. So it's also you speaking to yourself. So when you're hearing me, you're actually hearing yourself.
Yep.
Which is something to play around with.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely play around with that one. And tell me if you find that anything is not you. But don't get sucked into the implication that means that that you are finite in any way. There's no finiteness there. It's infinite. So it's easy to get the intellectual thing that says logically the conclusion must be that because everything that comes in through these senses is my interpretation, that that my world is unique. And that seems to suggest that, well, then that's so for everybody. So therefore, there's however many billions of people, there's that many different worlds at play here. Well, that's true on one level. But it's also true, and it's much more of an intellectual thing to say that all of that is just one thing. It's not even made up of parts. I mean, I recently tried to explain to somebody that it was like a hologram, saying that each aspect of the hologram contains the total picture of everything. So a hologram is a picture made up of pictures, if you like, or 3D things made up of 3D things, however you want to put it. But each part contains the whole. But even that kind of breaks things up into pieces that this doesn't work for. So that oneness thing is not like there is one thing. That's a misapplication of a concept as well, that we are all one. There's not just one. There's not none either. There's that gets impossible to describe. So we can settle for just the recognition that everything that we experience is unique to us. And that'll do for the moment. The next step of there being no separation is also, there's no words to do anything with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But there is only this experience. Like,
Yes.
because what you just said, I kind of got the feeling like you're saying when you said the 8 billion people, it kind of it sets up belief that the 8 million people has a separate experience in your experience. So that's my point, to just seeing through that it is just one experience. It's your experience.
Mm.
No, I was thinking about this, why I know that I am not awakened. And it's because there is wanting for this not to be. I understand what you are talking about, but still there is wanting for this not to be.
That is the foundation of seeking, wanting something else than what is.
And this is what draws me to Buddhism, because every monk that reached awakening said in these words or another that this bag of bones is my last one. There will be no further rebirth. So yeah, that is my story about awakening.
Mm.
And that is my gospel, my good news. That it is possible.
I remember that one. I remember that as part of my experience, and it was definitely a big attraction for me. That yes, could this be my last lifetime? But you know, now I see, and I go back to when I had that. It was a long, long time ago, but I do remember it existed, and from where I am now, I'm imagining that that was such a big deal for me because I was suffering. And now I couldn't care less whether this is my last lifetime or not. I could enjoy another one, I would hope. Oh, whoa. And then I had a flash of the suffering that I went through, especially as a kid. And I wouldn't want that again.
Bianca, can you see that that is just a thought? Like, can you imagine not having that thought? Is it possible?
That is my alternate story about awakening. That awakening would mean that this wanting dissolves. Either way, if there is this wanting, then I am not awakened.
So, if we can also forget that thought, then you're there.
I can't forget it. I
Yeah,
just
that's the
know
attachment.
that would be lying to myself.
How do you know that?
I don't know. I
So
just
that's you
know.
believe. You believe.
What if the thought that you're not awake is you lying to yourself?
Ah, even if I am wrong, I have to go with what feels right.
When your attention rests in your feet, if you can do that now. Is that problem there? Or do you have to go to thought to find it again?
I have to go to thought to name it.
So how is it experienced without thought?
It's a body reaction.
What is it reacting to?
No, I have only my interpretation.
I would say these are also only just thoughts.
But there is only interpretation of what my
Interpretation.
body reacts to.
Yeah, interpretation is thought. You can't interpret
Yes,
something outside of thought, right?
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. So in direct experience of anything else than entertaining those thoughts, is there a problem?
There is something uncomfortable.
And how do you know that that uncomfortableness is tied to the meaning that you're giving it?
I don't know, but it's the best interpretation my mind has come up with.
And then you just, do you move, like, does it stop there? Do you give up? Do you not want to explore what we're pointing at any further?
Search for another interpretation.
Giving up interpretation, giving up the meaning that you're assigning to that uncomfortableness. Could you explore if that is possible? That doesn't happen in the head or in the mind.
I can't.
I have a story here that you are heavily identified with that thought or that idea that this shouldn't be. And it's scary to kind of let go of that thought, let go of that meaning, let go of that identity. So I would invite you to dig a little deeper, play with the idea of releasing that meaning. It's just a story. Like everything else is just a story in mind.
I don't know how to do it. It just doesn't happen.
Maybe this talk will help you become more aware of paying attention to that story. And by that happening again and again.
Paying so much attention to a story.
But I mean,
Yes.
the fact that you're playing a story,
Yes.
not being immersed in the story, but that it's just a story.
Yes. I know this. I knew this for years.
But you still believe it's true.
Yes.
So there's a contradiction there, I feel, that you say you know that it's just a story, but you also believe that it's true.
Well, I guess I can understand intellectually that it is a story. But in my gut, I feel that it's true.
There is a sensation in your gut that you assign a meaning to, saying that my gut is telling me that this is true.
Yeah.
So it's just another story that you're assigning to a sensation.
Well, and anything you say is your story.
That's
So
right.
what do we have? A story against a story.
Yeah, you're right, but I think the difference there is that I'm okay living without the story or an attachment to a story rather.
But it's also a story.
It is also an experience.
What experience?
Yeah.
Well, your gut is telling you this?
We kind of have to use words and stories to relate to each other, right?
I don't want to butt in here because it totally relates to what you're talking about, but I'm just going to do it. Pernella has this technique where she teaches you to like separate the sensation from the thought. And I was doing that a lot, like right in the time, like when the shift happened to me, I just have a feeling that it really taught me how that like that they're totally different, the sensations and the thoughts, and there really are no emotions, it's just when they get together. Like it's in the fourth fetter. If you wanted to look for it, it really helped me a lot. I don't know. I mean, I know everybody's different, but that really helped me see it a lot if you wanted to look at it.
And I'm just going to be frank, and this is my story, so this might be totally wrong. But sometimes I get a sense that you, Bianca, are more focused sometimes on finding holes in the argument rather than looking inside. And the reason I can see that is because that is that is a part of me. So that's why I can recognize that.
And it seems like doubt is the foundation of that. Doubt and the feeling of less than or not enough is what drives that, in my experience. And doubt is just a
But
thought.
for me, the base is this sensation of settling. I think this is what I call gut feeling as settling. I don't know how to call it otherwise.
Say the word again.
Settling.
Settling.
What brings that sensation, did you mean?
Oh, I don't know, but when it appears, it's like a guide for me that feels right, that is comfortable.
Could that comfortableness also be described as safe?
Well, it can mean doing something hard, like telling the truth when it's not very convenient for me, but it feels right, and it feels settled.
Yeah, I think it's valuable to not develop a mistrust of our intuition. But it's also important that we learn to understand our intuition more accurately. I would never presume that our inability to explore a certain area is as simple as what it seems. I can imagine that if we have difficulty exploring any area, that it's because there are other things underneath that. There are other beliefs that it rests on that we need to look at first. So it's always open for me that let's not push too hard to go anywhere. And certainly not because we're going to have to come back to. We are going to come back to having a lot more faith in our intuition as we progress. And so in the beginning, our intuition is not very well developed because we don't normally use it. We discount it often. But later on, we will use it a lot more. That's how life will present itself to us as a way of deciding what needs to be done and so on. But so we don't want to lose. We don't want to do that. We don't want to lose our ability to trust our intuition by going against. So if that feeling is a feeling that it's right, then that's to be honoured, I think, even if it's wrong. It's we must trust. Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of add or finish with that is I know that I can be direct and a bit pushy. So please feel free to push back and tell me or set a boundary if you feel like I'm too
Oh, look,
pushy.
there'll be times when it's perfect, times when it's good, But yeah, I think right now we don't,
Yeah,
I want Bianca off the hook.
it's a good one.
No problem. I think during these meetings, this was, I think, the most important meeting for me when I realized how I defend against someone pushing a belief on me.
Yeah, that's the big one.
And
Yeah.
but it's just but in reality it's happening in me that I'm pushing this belief and when I realized that there is no problem with it anymore.
Good. Yeah. Well, I reckon we can wind up, hey? Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you for all your wisdom. Thank you,
Oh,
everybody.
thank you for just being you. Great. All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.